Hi everyone, I am Sam. Today we are going to talk about aging. For as long as humans have recorded their thoughts, they've looked at the elderly in their communities and wondered why we decline physically and mentally. Ancient healers and philosophers often believed that aging was simply part of the natural order, a gradual shift in the balance of essential fluids or energies. In ancient Greece, for example, Hippocrates, one of the earliest physicians to attempt a systematic understanding of health, saw the body as governed by four humors: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. Harmony meant health, including a balanced aging process, while an imbalance could lead to disease and perhaps a more difficult old age. Back then, there was no microscope to peer into cells, no concept of genetics to explain why families often shared patterns of longevity or early frailty. The understanding of aging was deeply philosophical and observational. Some considered it a kind of drying out process, where the body lost moisture and vitality over time. Others saw it as a depletion of vital energy, something that could be moderated by diet, exercise, or lifestyle, but never truly prevented. As centuries passed, people tried to find elixirs and potions, some earnest attempts, others outright fraudulent, that promised to halt or reverse the clock. The pursuit of eternal youth and longevity potions is as old as human imagination itself, yet these attempts rarely did more than stimulate curiosity, and at times, hope. It wasn't until the scientific revolution began to reshape our understanding of the natural world that we started to look at aging through new lenses. By the 17th and 18th centuries, European thinkers were studying the human body with unprecedented rigor. Anatomists dissected corpses to understand how tissues changed over a lifetime. Natural philosophers recorded their observations of lifespan in various species, noting that some animals lived only months, while others, like certain tortoises, could outlast generations of human observers. This comparative approach raised tantalizing questions. Why do different creatures age so differently? Is aging a universal law of nature? Or is it something more flexible, something we might one day manipulate? By the 19th century, Charles Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection brought a new perspective on the matter. Evolutionary thinking suggested that aging might be shaped by how species adapted to their environments. Perhaps organisms that lived just long enough to pass on their genes didn't need a longer lifespan. From this vantage point, aging could be seen not merely as a breakdown of the body, but as something intertwined with the survival and reproductive strategies of a species. This idea would become a cornerstone in how modern scientists think about the origin of aging. The seeds were planted for an evolutionary theory of aging, which posits that natural selection doesn't strongly favor longevity after an organism's reproductive period. In other words, if living longer doesn't directly help pass on your genes, nature won't invest heavily in maintaining a body that can last many decades beyond its prime breeding years. The rise of modern biology, genetics, and molecular science in the 20th century radically changed our understanding. Scientists peered into cells and discovered that aging isn't just about organs wearing out. It's about fundamental processes at the microscopic and even molecular level. One of the most pivotal discoveries came when researchers realized that each time a cell divides, the ends of its DNA strands, called telomeres, become slightly shorter. These telomeres act like protective caps at the ends of chromosomes. As cells continue dividing over a lifetime, telomeres eventually become too short to protect the genetic material. At this point, cells can no longer replicate properly, becoming inactive or dying. This cellular limit, often compared to a built-in timer, became one of the best-known clues to understanding aging at a biological level. Telomeres weren't the only discovery that helped lift the veil on aging. Another major concept was the free radical theory of aging. Free radicals are reactive molecules that can damage our cells, proteins, and DNA. They are produced naturally when we convert food into energy or when we're exposed to factors like radiation or pollution. Over time, scientists proposed the accumulation of this damage could lead to the physiological decline we associate with aging. Although the free radical theory has lost some of its once firm status as a catch-all explanation, it provided a valuable framework for understanding that aging involves gradual damage at the cellular level, and that lifestyle factors, like a diet rich in antioxidants, might influence the rate at which damage accumulates. Yet, Even as we began to understand the mechanics of aging, the fundamental question remained. Is aging a programmed process, something built into our genetic code, or is it more of an accident, a byproduct of life's complex chemistry? On one side are those who think aging is an unavoidable consequence of entropy, an accumulation of damage and errors in our biological machinery. On the other side are those who think there may be genetic programs that regulate lifespan and aging. After all, different species age at vastly different rates. A tiny mouse might live a couple of years, a human close to a century, a bowhead whale for more than 2 centuries, and some trees can persist for thousands of years. If aging were purely accidental, why would nature vary so much? By the late 20th and early 21st centuries, cutting-edge research in genetics and molecular biology allowed scientists to play with the levers of lifespan in model organisms like yeast, worms, and flies. A single gene mutation in these creatures could sometimes double their lifespans. This was a revelation. It told us that, at least in some organisms, aging could be slowed or modified genetically. The implication was profound. If aging could be altered in simple life forms, maybe, just maybe, we could find interventions for humans that extend healthy life and delay age-related diseases. This new frontier of gerontology, the study of aging, quickly expanded. Researchers began to identify pathways in cells that influenced longevity, such as those involved in regulating insulin and certain growth factors. Caloric restriction, an idea tested in mice and other animals, showed that a reduced caloric intake without malnutrition could slow down many aspects of aging. This led to excitement that there might be dietary or pharmacological ways to tap into these mechanisms and extend not just lifespan but health span, the period of life spent free from disease. To understand how all these theories and discoveries fit into a coherent narrative, imagine shining a light through a prism. White light enters, and from it comes a spectrum of colors. Aging is like that white light. When we examine it closely, it splinters into multiple components: DNA damage, telomere shortening, mitochondrial dysfunction, accumulation of senescent cells, changes in gene expression, and much more. No single cause explains everything. Instead, aging seems to be the result of multiple interrelated processes that unfold over time. Our bodies are remarkable machines, capable of repair, regeneration, and adaptation. But these repair mechanisms aren't perfect. Over decades, imperfections accumulate, and the body's ability to maintain balance wanes. This understanding brings us back to the cultural and historical dimension. Throughout history, humans have tried to understand aging in simple terms because it's so universal. Even now, with all our science, we still look at elders and wonder, what makes one person age gracefully, active, and alert into their 9th decade, while another becomes frail much sooner? The puzzle isn't just scientific, it's deeply personal. Nearly everyone has an aging parent or grandparent, and everyone, young or old, wonders what their own aging process will be like. Will I remain healthy? Will I keep my memories intact? Will science find a way to slow or even reverse aspects of aging in my lifetime? Modern research is providing some hopeful answers, or at least potential leads. We now know that lifestyle factors matter. Exercise seems to help maintain muscle mass, bone density, and cardiovascular health, slowing some aspects of physical aging. A balanced diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins supports the body's repair mechanisms and may help reduce the risk of age-related diseases. Good sleep appears crucial for the brain's housekeeping functions, clearing out toxins that could otherwise contribute to cognitive decline. Social connections and mental stimulation support mental health, potentially delaying or mitigating dementia. So while we can't stop the clock, we have strategies that can make the aging process gentler. But what about going beyond the traditional approaches of diet and exercise? The past few decades have witnessed the birth of a new field known as biogerontology, a science dedicated to understanding the biological basis of aging and age-related diseases. Researchers are exploring substances like rapamycin, metformin, and NAD+ precursors. Early studies in animals have shown that some of these compounds can extend lifespan or improve health span. Human trials are underway, though it's still too early to say whether these substances will live up to their promise. Gene editing technologies and stem cell therapies also appear on the horizon, raising the possibility of repairing or replacing damaged tissues. Such innovations might one day allow us to not just age more slowly, but to recover lost functions. These frontiers bring ethical questions. Extending lifespan or halting certain aspects of aging could reshape society in ways we can barely imagine. Who would have access to these therapies? Could it create new inequalities between those who can afford to age slowly and those who cannot? And how would longer lives affect population dynamics, resources, and even our sense of purpose in life? Historically, the idea of radically extending human life has been the stuff of myths and legends. Now, it appears at least conceivable that science could push the boundaries of what we consider a natural lifespan. All of this complexity, the interplay of biology, environment, evolution, lifestyle, and future technology, makes aging a fascinating subject. It's not just about wrinkles or gray hair. It's about how our bodies and minds evolve over time, how societies care for their elderly, how myths of eternal youth have persisted through centuries, and how today's researchers are trying to turn those myths into realities, or at least bend the curve of aging in our favor. Returning to that ancient tree in your mind's eye, the reasons it grows old and eventually dies are not so different from the reasons we do. It faces stressors, windstorms, droughts, disease, insects, just as we face injuries, infections, and environmental toxins. Yet there are trees that can live thousands of years, showing that nature's aging processes are not uniform. If we can learn why some trees, whales, or even tiny organisms like certain hydra seem not to age in the same way we do, we might uncover secrets that apply to human biology as well. Looking forward, we stand at a kind of crossroads. We've come so far in understanding aging as a natural phenomenon, no longer just a philosophical or mystical question, but a complex interplay of biological mechanisms. We have tools our ancestors never dreamed of. Microscopes that see inside cells, genetic tests that reveal inherited risks, imaging machines that peer deep into our brains, and drugs that interact with our cells at molecular levels. We have global scientific communities sharing knowledge faster than ever, accelerating discoveries. We also have a growing older population worldwide, giving urgency to the quest to improve the quality of later life. If we take a moment to consider the journey humanity has made in understanding aging, it's astonishing. In the ancient world, people tried to balance humors. In the Middle Ages, many simply accepted aging as a divine design, something ordained and unchangeable. The Renaissance and Enlightenment brought about a desire to understand the world through reason and experiment, setting the stage for the scientific approaches to aging that we rely on today. In the modern era, we've dissected the process down to genes, proteins, and cellular pathways. And the future holds the promise of interventions that might have seemed like science fiction only a few decades ago. Yet, with all this knowledge, aging remains personal and profound. No matter how we explain it, through evolution, molecular biology, or cellular maintenance, aging is something we feel in our own bodies and see in the faces of those we love. We may learn to treat it, delay it, or manage it better, but we will likely never fully escape the passage of time. Instead, what we gain is understanding, and from understanding can come acceptance, adaptation, and compassion. Even as research marches on, many scientists believe that aging is not a disease to be cured, but a process to be understood and guided. We might extend health span, giving people more years free of pain and suffering, more time to enjoy life, pursue passions, and contribute to their communities. This shift in perspective is crucial. It's not about simply adding years to life, but adding life to years. The idea is that by understanding the underlying mechanisms, we can improve how we age, making it a more graceful process. In many ways, society already reflects these changes. People are retiring later, or choosing second or third careers in their later years. We have an entire industry focused on wellness and anti-aging products, though many are unproven or purely cosmetic. At the same time, more serious scientific efforts aim to slow the progression of diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and arthritis, conditions that often accelerate the decline we associate with old age. The hope is that if we can tackle the root causes of aging, we can also tackle the diseases that come with it. We are also learning that mental and emotional well-being plays a significant role in how we age. Loneliness, chronic stress, and depression can influence immune function, inflammation, and other factors that accelerate aging. Cultures that respect and honor their elders, integrating them into daily life, may provide a social buffer that softens the edges of aging. On the other hand, societies that devalue older people or isolate them can worsen age-related decline. Understanding aging isn't just a biological quest. It's also about understanding how we treat each other across generations. If we imagine the future, we might see advanced therapies that repair damaged DNA, clear out senescent cells, or tweak the balance of hormones that influence aging. We might develop personalized medicine, where each individual's genetic makeup guides interventions to slow their unique aging process. Perhaps artificial intelligence will help us identify the most effective interventions by analyzing vast amounts of health data. Maybe one day there will be treatments that allow us to reach 100 years old in good health, with sharp minds and strong bodies. Perhaps we'll regard the current understanding of aging as primitive compared to what the future holds. But let's not lose sight of the central narrative. Aging, at its core, is the story of life unfolding over time. It's intrinsic to the human experience. It shapes culture, art, storytelling, and family dynamics. It's reflected in nature around us. While we may discover ways to bend the rules, slow the pace, or ease the burdens, we remain creatures with beginnings, middles, and ends to our life stories. Understanding aging doesn't make it vanish. It makes it more comprehensible, more manageable, and perhaps less frightening. In the end, the legacy of all our inquiries, ancient philosophers balancing humors, modern scientists peering into cells, geneticists tweaking lifespans in worms, is a richer understanding of what it means to be alive and to move through time. Aging is not just a problem to be solved. It's a fundamental aspect of living organisms. From the past's mystical elixirs to tomorrow's sophisticated gene therapies, the pursuit of understanding aging continues to captivate us because it touches on the essence of who we are. It's a profound reminder that life, in all its complexity, beauty, and fragility, is defined not by static perfection, but by constant change. As you step away from the image of that old tree and return to your daily life, carry with you this broader perspective on aging. It's a tapestry woven from the threads of history, science, philosophy, and personal experience. We've journeyed from ancient ideas about drying humors to the modern frontier of genetic interventions. We've recognized that aging isn't just about frailty, but also about adaptation, knowledge, community, and meaning. And perhaps that understanding itself is the greatest gift of our long quest to comprehend what it means to grow old. That's it for today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And remember, all my videos are made to be accessible to everyone, no matter your academic background. You'll be able to grasp topics like game theory, nuclear physics, behavioral economics, and so much more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.